Hello, Campus Zero community participants of Campus Party from all around the world. This is a great time for us hosting the first ever Campus Party in North America. We're super happy with all the support and all the partnerships and all this amazing audience that is watching us both live and also digitally from around the world. And for the session of today, I have a great pleasure to bring to conversation I can call him a good friend because we are good friends, Jeff Musson, which is a big entrepreneur in the technology ecosystem. But Jeff is going to be talking with us today about one of his most amazing projects here in Canada, which is coding for veterans. Hello, Jeff. How are you?
Hey, great, Giuliano. Appreciate the opportunity. And yeah, we are good friends. So,
Jeff, um, can you let us know? I mean, I'm familiar with the subject,
yeah,
but I think it's important for our campus party community everywhere to understand what is coding for veterans. It's a
yeah,
very interesting subject. Can you explain to us?
absolutely. So, Coding for Veterans is an organization that helps Canada's military veterans retrain for jobs in Canada's tech sector. And there's really two streams to the program. You have software development and you have cybersecurity. And the program's delivered 100% online through the University of Ottawa. So those that served our country who now live coast to coast are able to attend classes. And what's really great is in Canada, and the same story can be said throughout the world in different countries, but Canada in particular, it's projected that there's going to be 147,000 IT jobs that are going to go unfilled in the next 12 to 18 months. And if you actually look at the soft skills that someone from the military has, so things like attention to detail, leadership, teamwork, can do attitude, they actually align perfectly with what the best workers and employees in the tech industry have. And so, really, the whole thesis was, can you find those men and women that have left Canada's military who then have an aptitude for a career in IT to then partner in with an academic institution like we have with the University of Ottawa, give them, what's now called micro credentialing in terms of education, but also write industry certification exams and then start backfilling these unfilled jobs that are waiting for these men and women in Canada.
You've been doing this project for how long, Jeff?
So what's interesting was that I'm a tech entrepreneur, as you had mentioned. So I actually own a software company. And it was about 2.5 years ago, we landed a contract using AI to do risk analysis on auto accident files for an insurance company. And to say I was underwhelmed at the lack of talent coming through the door is an understatement. And in a moment of frustration, you pull out the whiteboard in the boardroom and you start writing out, if I were to create my ideal developer, what do they look like? And so, like I discussed earlier, you want someone who's great at teamwork, attention to detail. And when you took that step back, I'm like, holy cow, these people are in our military. And so what was funny was that no one at that time had even thought about this. And honestly, it was the URL was even available. So that's how you know you're on to something. And I'm happy to say that was only 24 short months ago. Our first cohort started and it had 5 people in it. And I'm happy to report now we have just under 200 people in the program.
Wow, that's amazing. And you just started a roadshow across Canada, right?
Yeah. So what's interesting was normally when you would do recruiting to come into this into our program, Canada's military bases would have job fairs, and there was other sort of face-to-face interaction. Obviously, with COVID, that all went by the wayside, and so what we decided to do was, what if we partnered with, a service provider? In this case, we partnered in with the Canadian Legions. And what if we did a road show from coast to coast, bringing the message of, this program and opportunities in the tech industry directly to the troops? And so we kicked off the Coding for Veterans Career Caravan in Ottawa on September 10th. And we've traveled through the province of Quebec, the maritime provinces, and we've also traveled through Western Canada. And right now, for the next 4 weeks or up until Remembrance Day, we're actually crisscrossing Ontario. And we will end up back in Ottawa on November 11th, which obviously with Remembrance Day. And it's been fabulous in terms of outreach, but also what's been great has been companies that have come out and said, we want to hire these veterans. So it's really served two purposes. It was an opportunity for military veterans and their families to find out about this program, but also for employers, because one thing that we've all found is employers, for whatever reason, have never looked at those in our military as a source of talent. And so now they're starting to see why, and the value that someone from the military can bring to the table by being, employed by a company.
I have two questions, Jeff. First, what is the potential like for Canada on that aspect? I mean, how many people you are expecting to reach? Because this is I would say this is a never-ending initiative, right? Because you can keep doing, and as we know, the Canadian market is growing exponentially in the tech aspect with everything related to all sectors in technology. So that need, the constant need of skilled talents will persist. So I think this is it's safe to assume that your project is going to have like a long life ahead, right? So how many people you think you can impact over the next 5 to 10 years? And my second question would be, do you have any good stories to share about participants, how they reported after the program, and like that kind of feedback from participants?
Yeah, no, absolutely. Two very interesting questions. So let me start off with kind of the first one. So every year there's about 7 to 10,000 men and women that release or they leave from the military. And so you have a constant funnel of talent that is coming out into the ecosystem. And what traditionally has happened is these men and women have gone into police services. They've gone into being a security guard. What we said is, let's look at your soft skills and apply it to another industry. And what's cool is, especially when you deal with cybersecurity, we like to say, these men and women went from serving Canada on the battlefield to now serving in cyberspace. So you're still, as part of that DNA of protection and being part of, the country, protecting Canada, but now they're shifting it from, the battlefield to cyberspace. And then in terms of the second question, we've had a tremendous number of, great feedback from graduates in our program. So what's interesting is that those individuals that graduate from our program, if they take this course and they do it full time, they can graduate in anywhere from 8 to 10 months. If they do it part time, obviously double that amount. And so what's been great is we actually spend a tremendous amount of time at the beginning before enrollment to make sure we have the right people in the program. So everyone has to take an online 45-minute soft skills assessment. There's an interview process. We go through your resume, or they call it an MPRR, to make sure that we have the right people in the program, because we have a placement rate of 95%, 95 and change, we'll say, upon graduation. And so that is such a high percentage but we spend a lot of time at the beginning. And what's interesting is that, you asked about a couple of unique stories. So we've had, an individual. He was actually a paramedic or a med tech, they call him in the military. And so he came into our program not really having a tech background. Well, he was snapped up and employed literally the day after graduation to actually work for a medical devices company. And what they loved about him was he understood medical terminology, he understood the ins and outs of healthcare. But now we gave the powerful combination of understanding about technology. So, that was very interesting. Um, Another thing that I kind of want to highlight as well with the program is we've had a number of military spouses and family members reach out to us. And what we've done is we have been able to go back to our corporate partners in government, and we've created scholarships for spouses and family members. And by and large, those spouses are obviously female. And so where we've now been able to start to move the needle on, gender equity, we're now allowing military spouses into our program, which now starts to expand, the scope and everything. And so it's been really great, for that.
That's really amazing, and I think you haven't mentioned that before about the spouses. So I'm happy to see that the project is enlarging the scope and be including the families, which is amazing. So speaking about that, Jeff, let's say like maybe someone watching us right now is a former veteran or is a family member, maybe a son or a daughter. What is the process to get into the program? Should they reach out to your website? What do you recommend them to do first if they want to know more and then eventually be able to participate? What was the process?
Yeah, so we've really streamlined that process. And what we've done is we've automated it all through our website. So if anyone is interested, you go to www.codingforveterans.com. And we actually have an apply section on there. And we ask just kind of minimal details, your name, your email address, and what have you. And then one of our counselors will reach out to you and provide you information about the program in addition to our course syllabus. And the course syllabus is actually, it's sizable. It's, just under 100 pages. But if someone at that point, after, looking through the syllabus and wants to get into the tech sector, we then run them through that assessment I was talking about earlier. And that assessment looks at really three things. It looks at cognitive ability, motivation, and personality. And we make sure that there's a good fit for the tech sector. And what's interesting is originally when we launched this project 24 months ago, we obviously had different hypotheses, and we figured, well, where would we draw the most amount of people into the program? Would it be from the signals area or the communications or wherever? As it turns out, infantry is the largest area of the military that we end up drawing from. And obviously, there is some technical aptitude required, but you're not exactly, doing a lot of coding. So, but what we look for with that assessment is really those online, those skills that would relate to a software or cybersecurity job. So, funny story that happened. We had an individual apply to the program. He knocked it out of the park on his cognitive score. Motivation was high, but we got to personality and he scored like 5 out of 100 on this, right? And what was interesting was I said, well, there's the sniper in the military that likes working alone. And sure enough, you pull up his MPRR and his resume, and he works or he was really in the infantry and the artillery side. So, when you sort of look at someone's background and you sort of layer on the assessments, it makes for a very, very good fit to ensure the right people are in the program.
And right now, what you are offering is based on cybersecurity and software development, right?
Yes.
Do you plan to expand the offering in more skills tech related?
Yeah, so what's been interesting, we've been approached by a number of companies as well as some students. And as you know, AI and machine learning is really, taking root in the economy. And what's been interesting is that um, there aren't enough people to actually interpret the data that machine learning and AI is providing. And so we're potentially looking within the next, I'd say, 12 to 18 months of rolling out a data analytics part of the program. Because for us, I think that is going to be another growth area. And when you look at the skill set, again, going back to, that military cohort, um, it really focuses on, those skills that, are ideal for analyzing data. I mean, you're in the military, you're analyzing troops, movements, you're analyzing the enemy's movements, you're analyzing a lot of stuff. And so it's been great, where we see that makes for a nice strategic fit for the future.
That's amazing. So we can predict then the coding is going to encompass many other aspects of the technology. Have you thought on expanding this to other sectors like science, or because right now after pandemic, I mean pandemic still on the going, but we are as we move forward, we are seeing that many sectors will be looking for highly qualified people. Do you think your idea will be scalable to other sectors rather than technology, maybe?
Funny you should ask, because we have a pilot program going on right now, and I don't even know if you knew about this,
No,
but
I don't. I don't. I didn't know. I was.
either that or maybe you hacked my emails or something, and you've kind of you saw what was going on. But what's funny is the government came to us and said, can you create a civilianized version of this program, right? And so we did, and it's called Cyber Skills for Canadians. Again, it's identical to what has happened in the military in terms of the program. It's still delivered through the University of Ottawa. It's 100% online. Everything's identical, other than the focus of it is civilians. And what we've actually done with this is we've taken two sectors in the economy, to see what can happen with this pilot project. The first sector, and it was really based on those that had their employment severely affected because of COVID. So we've actually been working with the airline industry. And if you actually look at it, a lot of workers in the airline industry actually have come from the Air Force, in the military, and then transitioned into flying jets for Air Canada, WestJet, and what have you. And a lot of them got laid off. And so it's been interesting to see, and this program launched back in earlier this summer, the progress, and it's been very positive so far. So that was the one area. The second area that we focused, I grew up down in Windsor, Ontario, so I have manufacturing DNA in my blood. Is there's going to be a tremendous shift as it relates to electric vehicle production and manufacturing in this country. Right now, down in Windsor, you have Ford, you have Chrysler, the automotive industry, but you no longer with electric vehicles have a need to install motors, transmissions, but what you do need is an ability to recalibrate batteries, to calibrate sensors, to really have some technical aptitude. And so we've actually partnered in with Unifor and some of their members that have been laid off in the tech industry, or in the automotive industry, and have been put them, and they are currently enrolled in the program to see, can we start, adapting those manufacturing jobs, for the production of electric vehicles in Canada. So both pilots are ongoing now, and we're kind of excited with the results.
That's amazing. I have a lot. Always have a lot of conversations with leaders, CEOs of companies from different parts of the world, and one of the things that we're always discussing is like companies are making this transformation into digital because the world was going that way, but the pandemic accelerated that. So more than ever, companies are exploring the digital journey, and that's a different meaning for different companies depending on
Yeah.
where your sector and things like that, right? But there are some cases that companies are having to replace many uh, uh, components of the workforce, many talents, because and I was particularly interested about in one example from a big bank in Belgium, and they said we're going to have to lay off almost 2,000 people, which is bad, but we also going to have to hire another 1,600 people.
Yeah.
The problem is the skills are different, right?
Yeah.
And I asked him, so how is the plan to retrain? And he said, well, we're retraining other 10,000. The problem is we have 2,000 that don't want to be retrained.
Yep.
So I think there's still a gap in the market for people to get a better understanding that coding, cybersecurity, software development is not rocket science, right?
No, and that's the beauty, right? I mean, if you actually look at people, again, I go back, let's default back to our Coding for Veterans program. The largest cohort is infantry. And what's interesting is when someone's in infantry, they actually do not know anything about coding. But by the time they're done our program, because it's scalable to the technical aptitude of the individual, their grade marks are virtually at the same point of someone who has a career in signals or comms within the military, which shows that if it all defaults back to attitude and soft skills. If someone has a desire, the technical aspect can be trained.
That's amazing. So it's again education,
Yep.
individual choice.
They call it lifelong learning,
Yeah,
right? I mean,
exactly.
before you used to just graduate, you go get a job, you're out in industry, and away you go. Now you continually have to evolve your skill set. Otherwise, you are going to be unemployed. But it's actually, learning is fun if you look
Yeah,
at it, right? And
exactly.
so it's, and my advice to people is look at this as a journey, right? As opposed to just sort of an end stop, especially in cybersecurity, because things evolve so quickly, and that matters.
Yeah, we have many people now saying that lifelong learning is the new retirement. And
Yes.
not only if someone it has to make a career choice or for some reasons it got unemployed, but it's also because there's a big opportunity to have a different income after retirement phase
Yeah.
of life. So I'm a particular fan of this concept of lifelong learning, which is amazing. Jeff, any final comments? Any final message would like to leave to our audience? Remember, we are being watched for people from all over the world. So, anything else?
Yeah, so I just want to say, I mean, look, technology is the future, and you're absolutely right. I've told people this pandemic has pulled the workforce 10 to 15 years into the future. And so before, you used to have to relocate to tech centers out there. Now tech is getting dispersed everywhere. And companies, the demand for talent is there, the opportunities are there. And you know what? For me, I see this really as kind of a bright future for Canada and other global countries out there that have sort of embraced technology, because this is the future. And when they say it, the future is now. And, everything from what we just talked about, education and lifelong learning will provide stable employment and jobs for the foreseeable future.
That's amazing. Thanks again, Jeff, for joining us for Campus Party, the first ever campus party in Canada and North America. And thank you for creating
The
Coding for
opportunity.
Veterans. That's such an amazing project. It's an amazing accomplishment, and you were like the project is certainly doing good for our tech ecosystem in Canada. So thank you so much,
Thanks,
and
Giuliano.
and we'll see you around.
Ciao.
Bye, my friend. Bye bye.